Imagine standing at your own daughter's wedding, a day you've dreamt about for years, only to be humiliated in front of hundreds of guests. The very man you trusted to cherish your daughter calls you an unemployed loser. And suddenly the celebration you prepared with love turns into a nightmare. This is the story of a father's silent struggles, his daughter's bravery, and the shocking events that left everyone speechless. It's not just a wedding story, it's a lesson on honor, respect, and the unbreakable bond between a parent and child. The morning sunlight filtered through the thin curtains of my small apartment, painting golden streaks across the worn-out furniture. Today was not an ordinary day. Today, my little girl, Amina, would be married. My daughter, my pride, my reason for enduring all the hardships life threw at me, was stepping into a new chapter. I stood before the mirror, adjusting the only suit I had. It wasn't new. It wasn't expensive. The color had faded over the years, and the fabric had seen better days. But I pressed it carefully, smoothing out the creases with hands that had worked hard all their life. Hands that had carried me through endless nights of struggle and self-doubt. Amina had woken up hours ago, chattering excitedly with her bridesmaids. I could hear her laughter from the other room, a melody that reminded me of her childhood when she would run around our modest home with her tiny feet pattering across the floors, her giggles filling every corner. Those memories flooded me with warmth and pain at the same time. I had wanted so much for her, given her all I could, yet life had never been kind to me. I had lost my steady job 2 years ago. The company I had served faithfully had closed down, leaving me scrambling for odd jobs to pay bills and support the household. Savings dwindled, pride battered, yet I never let her see the despair that shadowed my every step. Every day I wore a mask of confidence, smiled through the pain, and reminded myself that the sacrifices I made were for her. Her fiancé, Daniel, came from a wealthy family. Their home was large, their lifestyle extravagant, and their social standing impeccable. I had met them briefly during the engagement period. They were polite? Yes, but the kind of polite that hides judgment and superiority. I felt it the first time I shook Daniel's father's hand, a firm grip accompanied by eyes that silently assessed my worth. I was just an ordinary man, my hardships etched on my face, my lack of status evident in my humble attire. But in my heart, I told myself, status does not define love, and wealth does not measure worth. Today, all that preparation, all that anticipation would be tested. As I tucked a small box under my arm, a gift for Amina containing a delicate necklace that had belonged to her mother, who passed away when she was very young, I whispered to myself, "This is for her, not for me. Smile, be proud. Stand tall." The drive to the wedding hall was quiet. My car was modest, older than I liked, but functional. As I entered the grand hall, adorned with flowers, twinkling lights, and decorations I had only dreamed of affording for myself, I felt a pang of inadequacy. The contrast between Daniel's world and mine was glaring. Yet, I refused to let it dominate my mind. Today was Amina's day. Her happiness mattered more than my shame. Guests poured in, clad in elegant gowns and suits, laughter and chatter filling the air. I noticed subtle glances, the whispered comments of judgment, and I straightened my back, taking deep breaths. I reminded myself of my daughter's joy, her smile, and the pride that swelled in her eyes when she saw me. Amina appeared then, radiant beyond words. Her white gown shimmered under the warm light, and her veil framed a face that glowed with anticipation and joy. She ran toward me, her tiny hands reaching mine, and embraced me tightly. "Baba, thank you for everything," she whispered. "I'm so happy you're here with me." I choked back tears, holding her as though to anchor myself to the moment. This was the culmination of years of silent struggle, sacrifice, and devotion. But lurking beneath the joy was a shadow, a premonition that this celebration would not remain untainted for long. The officiant called everyone to their places. The ceremony began beautifully, with music swelling, lights casting a warm glow over the hall, and the air filled with love and expectation. For a brief moment, I allowed myself to feel complete, proud, and alive. Then Daniel stepped forward. His polished smile and confident demeanor radiated charm to everyone but me. He extended his hand for me to shake, a gesture that felt rehearsed, artificial. I smiled politely, accepting the handshake, yet a subtle unease settled in my stomach. And in that instant, I sensed it. The whispers, the subtle smirks among some guests, the unease in the air. A prelude to the storm that would soon descend upon my dignity. Upon the celebration I had envisioned, upon the very core of my being as a father. Little did I know. The very man I had trusted with my daughter's happiness would turn a joyous occasion into a nightmare, leaving me exposed, humiliated, and questioning my worth in front of hundreds of witnesses. The ceremony had just begun. The hall was filled with music, the chatter of guests, and the scent of flowers. For one fleeting moment, I allowed myself to breathe, to feel proud of the little girl I had raised, and to hope that everything would go smoothly. But fate had a cruel twist in store for me. As Daniel took the microphone to give his speech, he smiled broadly, looking at the crowd.
He turned to me, the man who had raised his bride, and said,
With a chuckle that cut through my very soul, "This is my future father-in-law. Unfortunately, he's currently unemployed. Well, let's just say he has plenty of free time these days." The words struck me like a hammer. Laughter erupted from some corners of the room. Others tried to hide it, but I could see the glint of amusement in their eyes. I stood frozen, clutching the gift I had brought for my daughter. My heart sank. My cheeks burned with humiliation. I wanted to speak to defend myself, but my voice had deserted me. I could feel the gaze of every guest on me, judgmental, mocking, and painfully aware of my inadequacies. In that moment, all the struggles of the past years, every late night of unpaid bills, every small triumph I had cherished seemed meaningless. I was stripped bare, not physically, but in the deepest, most personal way, my dignity, my pride, my identity as a father, called into question in front of everyone I cared about. Then I looked at Amina. Her laughter had vanished, replaced by shock and disbelief. I could see the storm in her eyes, a mixture of anger and pain. My daughter, who had always been gentle and kind, was suddenly transformed into a force I had never seen before. Whispers rippled across the hall. Did he really just say that? Can you believe this? Poor man. What a shame. Each murmur was like another blow to my already bruised spirit. I felt tears pricking at the corners of my eyes, threatening to fall, but I fought them back. I couldn't cry in front of everyone. Not now. Not at my daughter's wedding. Amina stepped forward, her posture straight, her eyes blazing with a determination I could barely comprehend. She grabbed the microphone from Daniel's hand, her voice loud enough for everyone to hear. "This is my father. The man who worked tirelessly to raise me, who sacrificed his own comfort so I could have a better life. The man who never complained, who gave me love, wisdom, and strength. And you, sir, have just humiliated him in front of all of us." The room went silent. Every eye was on her. Daniel's confident smile faltered.
He opened his mouth to speak, but no words came out.
Amina's words were like thunder, reverberating through every corner of the hall. She continued, "You may have money, influence, and social status, but none of that gives you the right to demean the man who gave me everything. My father's worth is not measured by his paycheck or the size of his bank account. His worth is in his heart, his sacrifices, and the love he has given me all my life." I could barely breathe, my chest swelling with pride. My little girl, the same one who once clung to my hands as a child, was now standing before a room full of people and defending me with a courage that left me speechless. Some guests nodded in approval. Others whispered quietly to each other, recognizing the injustice. Daniel's face was red, a mixture of embarrassment and anger, as he tried to regain control of the situation. But it was too late. The damage to his ego was done, and the respect for my daughter's integrity had grown immensely. Amina reached out her hand and gently held mine. "Baba," she whispered, "I will not let anyone take your honor away. You are my hero, and today I will make sure everyone sees that." In that instant, all my insecurities, all the shame I had carried for years, melted away. My daughter had turned a moment of humiliation into a moment of pride, teaching me and everyone present the true meaning of courage, love, and honor. The hall was completely silent. Every guest was now focused entirely on Amina. the confident bride I had raised. The gentle little girl who once ran to me for comfort had transformed into a force of nature. Her eyes blazed with determination, and her voice, firm and unwavering, cut through the tension. "Enough," she said, gripping the microphone tightly. The word echoed in the hall, silencing every murmur, every whisper, every doubtful gaze. "You humiliated my father. You mocked him, laughed at him, and called him unworthy, all in front of the people who came to celebrate our wedding. And that is unacceptable." Daniel opened his mouth to protest, trying to brush it off with a nervous laugh. "Amina, come on, I was just joking. Don't take it so seriously." But she wouldn't back down. She looked him straight in the eyes, and the room seemed to hold its breath as she continued. "Joke? You call humiliating the man who gave me everything a joke? You call breaking his heart in front of everyone a joke? My father is not defined by money, a job title, or social status. He is defined by his heart, his sacrifices, and the endless love he has given me since the day I was born. And I will not allow anyone, not even the man I thought I would marry, to disrespect him." The guests shifted uncomfortably. Some looked at Daniel in shock, while others nodded subtly in approval. A few had tears glistening in their eyes. Realizing the courage and love emanating from Amina, Daniel's confident smirk had vanished. He attempted to regain control, but the room had already turned against him. "Amina, please." He started, but his voice faltered under the weight of her words. Amina turned to me then, her gaze softening. She walked over, holding my trembling hands in hers. "Baba, you have always been my strength, my guide, and my protector. You are my hero, and I will never let anyone take that from you." I could barely hold back my tears. The humiliation, the doubt, the years of struggle, all melted away in that single moment. My daughter, my brave, beautiful daughter, had just defended my honor in front of hundreds of people. She had turned my worst nightmare into the proudest moment of my life. The guests began to murmur, then clap, and finally some stood up, showing their support. Daniel's family looked ashamed, his father avoiding eye contact, while the bride's courage and the father's dignity shone brighter than any. Wedding decoration. Amina released my hands but didn't step back. She addressed the crowd once more. "Respect is the foundation of family, love, and life itself. Without it, even the grandest celebration is meaningless. Today, we've learned that dignity, courage, and honor cannot be bought or mocked. They are earned through love, sacrifice, and the bonds we share." Every word she spoke resonated deeply. People whispered to each other, acknowledging the truth in her statement. Some guests wiped tears from their eyes. Some men looked at Daniel with disappointment. Realizing the lesson he had just learned the hardest way, I felt a pride so deep it nearly overwhelmed me. My daughter had not only defended me, but she had taught everyone present a powerful lesson about respect, love, and the true meaning of family. In that instant, I knew the bond between us was unbreakable. No insult, no humiliation, no societal pressure could ever sever it. And as I looked at her, standing tall in her gown, eyes glistening with emotion but shining with strength, I whispered silently, "This is my daughter. My pride, my honor, my everything." The wedding that had begun with joy and expectation had turned into a stage for courage, truth, and unwavering love. The celebration of union had evolved into a celebration of values, the very values my daughter and I had always held dear. The room was thick with tension. Daniel stood frozen, his confidence shattered as the reality of his arrogance sank in. His carefully constructed facade of charm and authority had crumbled in front of everyone. He opened his mouth, stammered a few words, but no one paid attention. The guests had already turned their respect and admiration toward my daughter, Amina, standing tall and unwavering, looked at Daniel with a clarity that left no room for negotiation. "I will not marry someone who disrespects my father. My family's honor is not negotiable. My father is everything to me, and no one, not even my fiancé, will take that away." The hall erupted in whispers and murmurs. Some guests clapped quietly in support. Others openly praised her bravery. Daniel's family looked on with embarrassment. Realizing their son had been completely out of line, I felt my chest swell with pride. The humiliation I had endured moments ago had transformed into an overwhelming sense of respect. Respect not just from my daughter, but from everyone present. My little girl, who had once run to me for comfort, had become my protector. My champion, Daniel's face flushed with anger and shame.
He stormed out, his family trailing silently behind.
The wedding that had promised unity and celebration had ended in chaos, but in its place, something far more valuable emerged: truth, respect, and honor. Amina turned to me, tears glistening in her eyes, and took my hands. Baba, today was not just about a wedding. It was about showing the world your worth. You have given me everything: love, guidance, strength, and I will never let anyone disrespect that. I held her hands tightly, unable to speak through my emotions. My daughter had turned what could have been the darkest day of my life into the proudest. Her courage had restored not only my dignity but also reaffirmed the values we held dear as a family. The guests began to leave, some whispering their admiration, some shaken by the unexpected turn of events. Yet the lesson of the day lingered in the air. Respect and honor are priceless. And true love and courage can triumph over humiliation. As we walked out of the hall together, hand in hand, I felt a profound sense of peace. For years, I had carried the weight of failure, the pangs of society's judgment, and the fear of inadequacy. But in my daughter's eyes, I saw pride, love, and admiration. That night, under the quiet sky, I whispered a prayer of gratitude. Life had tested me in ways I never imagined, but through my daughter's unwavering courage, I realized that dignity and honor are never lost when the bonds of love are strong. Even though the wedding did not proceed as planned, it had transformed into something far more meaningful: a story of courage, respect, and the unbreakable bond between a father and his daughter. A lesson not just for us, but for everyone who witnessed it. A reminder that true honor comes not from wealth, status, or appearances, but from love, sacrifice, and integrity. This emotional journey has shown us the unbreakable bond between a father and his daughter. Today's story reminds us that true honor, love, and respect are never measured by wealth or status. They are shown through courage and heart. If you were touched by this story, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to Elder Taylor's stories for more powerful, emotional tales that inspire and move the heart. Stay connected, cherish your loved ones, and remember, every act of bravery and love creates a story worth telling.